Kind of a reminder, our theme for the Lenten season this year is Jesus' Heart of the Cross, and that's what we put on our program, and you can kind of see the cross with the little heart on it. You have to remember that the cross is really the universal symbol of Christianity, and a cross really is just two pieces of wood, generally, that go like this, and it symbolizes of Christianity. It symbolizes belief and faith in Jesus Christ. It can mean lots of different things to lots of different people. Now, Catholics like to put what is called a corpus, or the body of Jesus, that hangs on the cross, much like we see in our church here, and you can see it in almost any Catholic church that you go into. And that is, in a sense, kind of center to our theme, what we were thinking of when we thought of this, because the cross really means nothing without the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So he is the heart of the cross. And much like a heart that moves blood to vital organs of our body and keeps us alive and continues to pump, and we don't even realize that it's working, and of course until it stops, then we are really aware that it's not working. But that is the symbol, or the kind of the symbolism that we're trying to go for this particular Lenten season. Jesus as the heart of the cross, that really in a sense kind of give the cross meaning and significance. Thinking of all that, I think our readings today, in a sense, kind of point to the cross. The sacrifice that we hear in our first reading, Paul's reminder that really there is what charge can people bring against us if our faith in Jesus Christ is so powerful and so strong, it can just overcome almost anything. But then also, in a sense, kind of a looking back and looking forward to the future that we hear in our gospel reading as well. I can remember many years ago when I was just out of college. I just finished at Loras College, and I had decided to go to study seminary to be a priest at St. Mary's Seminary and University in Baltimore, Maryland. I was 23 years old, so that was close to 25 years ago. You can kind of do the math and figure out my age then, okay? I had not, at that point in my life, I had not lived outside of my parents' home. I went to school at Loras College in Dubuque, and my parents live in Dubuque, and I was cheaper to live there, so I stayed there. But then when it was done, it was time to go. And so I packed up my belongings, and I stuffed them into this tiny little car that I had. I drove a Mazda 323. You remember those things? It was like a go-kart, you know. So I put all this stuff in there, and I went to Baltimore. I had never lived outside of Mom and Dad's house. I had never lived outside of Dubuque County. In fact, at that point, and in that day and age as well, people didn't travel too freely or too far, that I really had not spent a lot of time really outside really of this local area. So that was a major change, and anytime you take on a major adventure, endeavor, something really in a sense kind of life-changing like that, you are going to be transformed. You're going to be very different when you come out the other side. Seminary is one of those things that, as one professor said, what we try to do here is take you to the edge of the cliff, in a sense, make you want to jump, and then pull you back. So it's, in a sense, kind of a breaking down and a reforming, a rebuilding, and a reshaping, and I was a very different person when I left there 4 years later, when I was ordained a priest in 1997. So that experience was life-changing. It was transforming, if you will. Now, many of us can say that we have had experiences that in our life. Those of you who are married and have been married for a while, think back to when you were first married. Are you different today than you were then? I hope so. You probably are. And the longer that you are married, the more experiences that you have, the more children that you bring into the world, your life continues to transform. You take on new interests, in a sense, different experiences have different meaning and various things. Even when I was ordained a priest almost 21 years ago to today, I'm a very different person. We're continually transformed. As much as I hear people say, oh, I don't like change, I said, you've changed so much in life. We may not realize it, that when it's happening, but if you take a step back and you look back 10 years ago, 20 years ago, how different is your life now than it is now? Then than it is now. It's radical. It's an amazing experience when you stop and think about it. And all of those little things that happen, in between have a larger effect in the long course of life. Peter, James, and John today were blessed to witness this experience. In fact, Mark says they were so terrified by the experience they could barely speak. But being terrorized is a transformative thing as well. Terrorized, I think, in a good way in what this reading is proclaiming. Jesus takes them to the top of this mountain, and there, all of a sudden, he is with Moses, the great lawgiver, the one who gave the Israelite people the 10 Commandments, the one who led the people from slavery into freedom. And then there's Elijah, the great prophet that people had been waiting for and hoping and expecting to come back at any time. And there he is, standing there. It's like looking to the past, the old, the present, but then also Jesus, who is the new covenant, looking forward to the future, to the cross. And reminding Peter, James, and John that this experience is going to be different. When you go down that mountain, you're going to be a very different people. And we go through those things, and then, we run into someone that we know pretty well, and they have no idea that we've gone through a major life event or change or whatever it may be, and they begin to treat us, and then they wonder why. What's wrong with him? But unless somebody goes through certain things that we have gone through, they're not going to get it. So the other disciples, when they get to the bottom of that mountain, Peter, James, and John have had this experience. Try to explain to them, oh yeah, Jesus was up there with Moses and Elijah. They'll be like, oh, whatever. If there were mental hospitals then, we would have taken you right then. It's so radical. How could that possibly be? But they were different people. And Jesus basically is saying, because of the cross, you're going to be different as well. So think of how the heart of the cross, Jesus, that continues to pump and move life through us and, in a sense, kind of spiritually challenge us and want to, in a sense, make us different and better and push us into new experiences and a new way of thinking and a new interaction with people based on values that sometimes don't always come natural. That's the heart of the cross. That's the transformative moment. I think that is what this reading gets to. And in the midst of the Lenten season, where we really, in a sense, kind of step back and take a long view of life and our spiritual life and our relationship with God, it means something so special. So how do we change? How are you changed? How are you transformed? How do experiences shape you and mold you in life?